Okay, Sac Beach infrastructure. That must be Dave.
Yeah. I handed out a set of the 3 pages of the plan sheets to everybody. I just wanted to go over the project real quickly before we pass these resolutions. The first sheet is, you can see the existing road, the curve on the left side of the sheet. Basically north is to the right of the paper. Phase 1, we ran storm sewer to the end of that pavement. We ran sanitary sewer to that end of that pavement and water main. So we'll hook on right there with the street, water, sanitary, and storm, and head north towards the highway. And the next sheet takes you clear up to the highway. Sanitary will serve the lot on the west side. And we also run, I think it was, actually the sanitary is on the right side of the road, so we don't run any services to serve the field right now because we just don't know where to put them. It's on that side of the road, so there's no reason to get anything connected yet. But the water main is on the west side, so we had bored, or we're going to install 4 1-inch services across to the other side. We really don't know where to put them. There's nothing platted over there, but it's best to try to get them in now before the pavement's in the ground. So. Started with 4, running storm sewer up to, you know where their wide rock driveway is right now? That's what the hatched area is on the first page. To about the north side of that driveway. We have to work out with them where they want to put their curb drop in because we're not going to give them a 7-foot wide curb drop. We'll have to get that figured out with you guys where to put that when they're under construction. And then the third page is the turn lane, in which we already have a construction permit from the DOT. That's what we worked on about 4 or 5 months ago, Scott. Got that taken care of. Where we have a turn lane on 71, we just have to extend the culvert under the highway, and the rest is pretty basic. Just grade the shoulder out a little farther, leave it, tie it into the existing road. It meets all DOT requirements for slopes and radius and stuff like that. Stop bars, turn arrows. And this is the exact layout that was approved by DOT, so we shouldn't have any issues with the project that I can foresee. So we're good to go there. Site distance is okay we had to check that on the highway to get the permit. So, any questions about the project?
What about water runoff? We have a huge issue. Is this going to cause more water problems?
This should actually help a little bit with the water issue. The street's going to be lowered so that the 4 slopes in the right-of-way can drain onto the street now instead of down those ditches and across the fields like they do. But as far as what people do to their lots for grading, it's probably going to go where it goes now. We're not changing anything on their individual lots.
This is going to hook into the storm drain down by Boulders?
Yeah, right where the pavement ends, we have a storm sewer stubbed out on the west side of the street, right by the fire hydrant. And we'll connect down there just to collect the 2 intakes that we have halfway up the street. And that will collect rainwater from right-of-way to right-of-way that dumps onto the street.
That'll go down and get split then, Scott?
Yep, it'll get down into the ditch there on East Shore Drive and kind of into that culvert, which is kind of just an equalization flow.
I remember we looked up that culvert just to see the flow line on that. They're both basically equal. It's a flat pipe, so it goes both ways. Depending on how high the water gets and where it comes from.
This isn't going to cause an issue with Wilmer, any more than we already have?
I don't know.
He's got that low lot out there. Every time it
on the
sprinkles.
southeast side of this corner, right there, it will not increase any runoff. It actually is going to collect a little bit more. Like I said, the road's going to be lowered a little bit, so some from the field on the east will get onto the road instead of running down that ditch. Not all of it, because right where we connect into is still higher than the ditch. But as we get up in this area, then we start cutting in, and that will get onto the street. So he's still going to have some water from that field get down through there.
Is there anything you could do to eliminate that flow?
That comes down here, you would have to you could stub a pipe across and put another intake in the ditch, collect it over that way. You'd be collected, I don't know how well that would work. Field runoff is usually pretty trashy. It would plug the intake quite often, I would guess. But yes, you could do that.
I had asked Dave for one other thing too in regards to the water service out there.
That's right.
We had talked about at least getting an option from Dave. What would it cost, what's an extra cost to go from the north end of Boulders there at the highway and basically go down the south right-of-way line of the highway to go over and intersect with the water main serving the Apple. Kind of put in a loop through there. So we got the cost on it, and it would cost about $50,000 more.
The reason for the loop is to eliminate dead ends, better flow, better pressures. I don't know if you have a pressure issue out there now, Scott, do you know?
Well, we could always want better water pressure out around the lake.
Has the hotel ever complained about low pressures? But as you get more users, you're gonna, as this develops, say a car wash goes in there, out here, then there might not be enough water for a car wash. Something to consider.
Because this water line that serves this whole area actually comes off that they've got a 10-inch going out to serve Evapco. And this comes off that 10-inch already, so it would just potentially tie in at the north side of that existing 10-inch there again. It's pretty expensive. We had never necessarily intended on spending that much money.
Is something we could budget and do in the future, or?
Right.
No, you don't have to do it now, and the water is the one that is actually on the west side of Boulders Drive, so you don't even have to.
Right, so you wouldn't have to bore the street.
Bore
But
the
you would
street.
have, that does include boring the County Road N54, because the water line over there is on the west side of N54. But you have to bore that anyway, whether you do it now or later.
So it's something we could explore at a later date if we wanted to, determine if it becomes an issue. It's not an issue now.
We have money all over the place.
Yeah, it's probably, truthfully, probably the right thing to do, but that's just pretty expensive.
I'll just hold off on that for now, so that's it.
Yep.
Any more questions for Dave?
Well, don't leave, because we can walk through all that special assessment stuff.
Do we want to talk about the pavement cracks one?
Oh, sure, yep, be a good time.
The city has marked out 12 panels that are cracked. There's actually more cracked than that, but they haven't separated at all. They're still really tight, and those can be routed and sealed fairly easily. There's 6 panels by the intakes on the existing pavement that are cracked, and they've separated. And actually, a couple of them have 3 cracks across them. I totally agree with replacing those panels. The other 6, kind of a question mark. They've separated about 1/8 of an inch. It's been in place for 2 years. I don't foresee it moving anymore. They can be routed and sealed. They've been marked for replacement. Typically, what we do if we route and seal them, these have separated a little bit, so it's kind of a little bit of a gray area on whether we replace them or not. I know if we ask King Construction to do that, he's going to fight that part of it, but we have the ultimate say in that too. So I know the 6 panels down by the intakes, I agree with the city, should be done. I guess in my opinion, I think the other 6 I think they would be okay routed and sealed. They haven't, like I said, they're 1/8 of an inch apart. They haven't folded up or down. And I think the routing and sealing would, because actually they're narrower than what a saw joint is anyway. With a saw joint, that's usually about 1/4 inch wide. So, but it is ultimately up to the council. If you've looked at them, you guys have seen them.
I would tell you that Jack and I were out there and we looked at all of these and really kind of struggled with that too.
Yeah,
Because you always kind of wrestle with the concept of is the repair worse than what it is right now?
it's never the
And-
same color with concrete. It's always,
But kind of ended up with the idea that, no, you're probably going to be better off if we can get those replaced. The other argument being, well, ask for more than what you think that you really, really need, and try to get
what you really wanted.
what you really wanted. But did everyone get a chance to get out there and take a look?
And I have talked to King. It was his understanding it was going to be like 5 panels. So when I told him that it's up to 12, he was kind of foul. But he was planning on coming in Thursday of this week and doing the panels, the 5 or 6, whatever they are, 5 or 6 by the intakes, and pouring them back on Friday. So what his plan was as of last Friday. So if that, if it's a little more, maybe his crew can't handle it that fast, but that was his plan as of now. So.
Yeah, it was my understanding they're doing the pavement on the culvert project.
So they're here.
10 points.
Okay.
How about pinning them with re-rock?
Do full reinforced pavement. The joints, I'm pretty sure this is why it didn't crack on the joints, because they are pinned, all joints are pinned longitudinally down the road. Every 30 inches there's rebar tying them together. What happened is, I'm thinking the pavement did shift a little bit because it was all fill that we built it on, and it couldn't crack on the joint with the pins there, so it cracked in the middle of these panels. Like I said, it's been in there for 2 years, it should be done moving. It's been through 2 frost heaves, so it should be good. You can do fully reinforced pavement, but that was never part of the plan.
And what's the bond period?
2 years.
2 years, which
So
is,
this would be it then?
I think it was accepted in the spring, so you would actually have, they built it 2 years ago, but it wasn't accepted by the city until the spring. I'd have to look up the date, but
So if it did have a bad winter on those 6 that we didn't do, we could get those, no?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because we didn't accept the project until,
I'd have to.
boy,
look
it's
up the date, but
even
it's-
almost summertime.
It might have been
2 years
closer
ago.
to the summer.
Because
so-
we had to battle them with all that water to put in the sanitary sewer and everything, and that was in the springtime.
I guess the thing that worries me is the ones that are really bad are the ones that cracked the first winter.
Right.
You know, now that they've had 2 winters, they've really gone bad. This other batch that had the hairline cracks, they just started last winter. I just worry about what they're gonna look like next year this time, if they all should be
Right.
replaced.
And that's, that's something you can't consider, what Tony mentioned, is do the 6 now and maybe look at the other 6 in the spring.
Then you're gonna have 3 shades of concrete.
We cover that with snow about 5 months out of the year.
Yeah.
Cover won't bother much.
Yeah, it's,
But we're still in the driver's seat. They're cracked, they should be fixed, right?
yeah.
I mean, that's what it boils down to.
And what does fixed mean? I mean, under the DOT policy, they route and seal them. They don't replace any of them. You don't have to follow that policy if you don't want. The spec we use says at the engineer's discretion. It basically means at your discretion.
Once it got street cost us.
I mean, I don't recall.
Uh,
$70,000, I suppose.
Probably for the street, I would say.
How long is the street gonna be for?
To do this?
Yeah.
Should be a matter of days.
Would you bid 12 is longer or less?
It would take them more time, yeah.
Well, yeah, but of the 12, 11 of them are on the right-hand lane as you're
Right.
as you're coming in. So,
Which is still, I still don't know why they all cracked on the right side. There's just nothing on the left, except for where the storm sewer crossed.
but that's, we would require that the street remain open.
Oh, absolutely. They have to leave that one panel in until the others have gear time.
Yep.
It would never be closed. I mean, it would be under construction, but you'd be able to get in and out. You can't shut the hotel off.
So what's everybody want to do?
Pretty small.
That's it.
Well,
He cashed our check.
I'm sure he did.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
For sure.
We
That
gave
is-
him, we gave him extra on the water bill.
Yeah.
Yep.
We bent over backwards that time. Do it right or don't do it at all.
Either way.
Do it right or don't do it at all.
I think Gabe's gonna want to do any work for us anymore.
Oh, yeah. They know the money's here, but
Your checks are good, aren't they?
they are.
They'll come back.
I know. Dick, do you have something to say for the motel? We're listening.
Well, we'd like to have it fixed right. We don't want to have to tear it up next year.
We don't want it half-baked either.
So if we can get it done right the first time, actually the second time.
Yep.
Then we've eliminated all the heaving, settling.
We hope so.
Dave, are they gonna take like more compaction tests when they pour? Are they just gonna rip her up and do it again?
We will definitely recheck the grade, yes.
And when you guys took the samples, I'm sure, was it on each side of the road? Because that whole right-hand side where it's cracked makes me...
Yeah, the samples are taken randomly.
Okay.
They do right, left, center,
Okay.
and I'd have to dig up the reports to know how many exactly were taken, but it's in the spec, it's I think it's 1 every 100 feet,
Okay.
right, left, center, they alternate.
Okay, we're back to resolution 1117.
Yeah, the next part of the meeting starts the process along on the special assessment. The special assessment document starts on page 6. Now, Dave prepared this special assessment document for us then too, and then also through the special assessment schedule that we'll talk about here now. So.
You want me to go over that, Scott?
Yep.
Okay, the special assessment, I don't know if you guys are aware of the process, but the cost of the improvements, including engineering, attorney's fees, can all be assessed back to the property owners, adjacent property owners, in which Boulders is on the west side and the Peterson Trust is on the east side. Peterson Trust is ag land, so that's deferred. They do not have to pay that assessed cost until the zoning is ever changed on that property. So in the developer's agreement, it's my understanding that Boulders has agreed to pay 75% of the cost, excluding water main. So if you look on, I don't know what sheet it is for you guys, but we use a method called, I can't even think of the name of the method now, it's been so long since I've done it, the Flint formula that calculates assessments based on proximity to the improvements, and you can only go up to 300 feet away. And we only use the properties adjacent right to the new street, we didn't assess any of the residential lots to the south. We felt they're not receiving a special benefit from this project. They've already got street, they've already got water, sewer. So they were receiving no special benefit from the project. And that is a stipulation to be able to assess them. So we use the Flint formula based on close proximity to the road and the size of the lots. And you come up, do you have the table in there, Scott?
Sure. For the council, it's page 13.
The assessment table, we kept Boulders Drive, the individual lots separated out, because if they were to sell a lot, that assessment would need to be paid off before they sell a lot. So we kept them separate in case they sell lot 2 or 3 or whichever they sell. And it's going through the tables, you just have a county parcel number, the owner, mailing address, legal description of the property, and then you get into the assessment part of it, which is the lot areas is figured into part of it, and that's actually smaller than the actual lot area because you can only count, like I said, the first 300 feet of it. So if you compared that to the plat, some of them wouldn't match up. And then the price per square foot, we used $1.46. Is that correct, Scott?
Yeah, we sure did. Now, ultimately, the city council is going to determine valuation of that property. Okay, that's why the next column says council valuation. But when you figure things out on a per square foot basis, that $1.46 came from, that's actually what Boulders had valued their land at for a sale. So those parcels had been listed for sale before, and based upon that sale price it was listed for, computing backwards, it's $1.46 a square foot.
And we use that for all property adjacent to this because they're all going to have water, sewer, and street available to them when this is done. So they're all, even though the east side is not platted, it's still going to have all these improvements, so it's going to be assessed at that same value. And then that's where that next column is council valuation of the individual lots. The distance units is kind of something that's difficult to explain, so it's related to the area within the so many feet. You know, the 50 feet is assessed the highest, the next 50 feet is less. It's the farther away you get, the less you can assess it. Then the assessable cost is you take the distance units times the factor that we've calculated. It's a whole complicated process. If you want me to go through it, I can. Okay. And then the calculated preliminary assessment is based off of the assessable cost and the council's valuation, because you can only assess up to 25% of the value of the lot. After that, you cannot assess any more. So for instance, the first parcel, the assessable cost is $169,000, but 25% of the value of the lot is only $33,800. So that's the most you can assess. And then the next column is what they call a conditional deficiency. That's what you can actually assess versus what you would have had you been able to assess the full amount. And then the second to last column is the actual preliminary assessment based on either the 25% or the developer's agreement with Boulders, 75% of the cost is where that came from. And then the last column is the percentage of the total cost of the project. We did exclude water main from the assessable cost. We excluded the grant, the RISE grant, in determining all this. And Bob Johnston has reviewed all this, if I'm
Yep,
correct.
oh yeah, yep. So when you look at the second from the right-hand column, the actual preliminary assessments, a couple things on it. Dave has worked through that Flint formula to tell us what the allowable assessments are, and that Flint formula has been very well tested about being proven in court, certainly is an accepted standard. So he's worked through that and get these preliminary assessment numbers, but ultimately what it is, what this ends up being is just what our preliminary, what our development agreement is with Boulders. Boulders is at 75%, Roger Peterson's at 25% of the assessable costs, and we work through the formula to get to that same point where we can
You
get
still
to
have to go through the formula to make sure you're,
Yep. The other thing that's important to note is that actual preliminary assessment, that is now the highest assessment that could be levied against the property. Okay? If we were to go through this and find out that the costs are more, we still would not be able to levy more because this is what's being sent out to them as what their preliminary assessment would be. It could go higher than that. Now, having said that, Dave has accounted for some additional cost in his cost estimate.
So it's up to, or it is like that?
It's up
it's
to
up
that.
to.
Yeah, you know,
It'll be, the final assessment happens next summer when we're done with the project. We have the final construction costs, final engineering, final attorney's fees. You don't do the final assessment until the project is done and you know all the final costs.
I can get you one.
This should be in your packet, unless you didn't put that sheet in there.
No.
You didn't. You can look at that.
Is that, is the cul-de-sac?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Because it's my understanding that's going to be not a street anymore, so that when they do this, they'll probably replat the area. So we did include parcel B in the assessment.
So that legal description of lot 1 is the new legal description plus the .94 acres that Glacier Bay sits on, right? I just want to be clear, or it includes
Lot 1
that.
is
Lot
not
1 is not included in the special
assessment.
assessment.
Well, what's this first line item?
First line item is the east side of the road, the farmlands.
Okay.
Peterson.
All right, very good.
Now, our agreement with Boulders also says that Boulders would sign a petition and waiver, which is then petitioning us for this to happen and waiving some of their rights. And that's where they're waiving that right about what Dave was talking about, the 25% threshold, and that their threshold is 75%.
So if it becomes replatted, the assessment has to be redone? Or?
No, they wouldn't be able to do that until the assessments were done, probably because there'd be liens against the lots. If they were to sell a lot, they would have to pay that lien off. I'm sure whoever buys it doesn't want to have this assessment lien
Yeah.
against it.
But I'm just saying, if it was, like you said, lot B goes away, per se, I mean, how would that be calculated, I guess, is what I'm saying, to know what needed to be paid off, or,
I guess I haven't come across that. I would anticipate if that were to happen, they would have to pay off that lien to be able to do it, because you can't, it's just like you can't sell a property with a lien against it unless the buyer knows it.
well, just because it touches all of them.
Right.
Except
Mm.
2,
Except for lot 2.
that
Sure.
gets a little hairy. Are you clear about what that means, Tim?
Lot B is the street. and that's
Lot B is a
included.
cul-de-sac,
Okay.
which touches everything but 2. So if we were to sell any of these 4 properties, in essence, the special assessment includes the assessment particularly for B. So we would have to pay that off in addition to that particular lot in order to get it replatted, sell it. That's a material. No, so.
Now that though, if they were replatting that property, could the city agree to allow the assessments to be reallocated? I don't see where there's any bad points to the city about that.
And it may not come to that, it's likely that it's.
Well, you hope it does.
Yeah.
You hope they're selling a lot,
Yeah, it will happen.
because it is a 10-year assessment payback. so.
So is the balance over here, the 57.37%, is the balance of the cities?
The balance is RISE grant and water main, which is the city's cost.
Okay. And how much does the RISE grant represent?
$149.
40,
Yeah, $149.
What's 30?
It's $149,000.
and the water main costs. There's actually a sheet in here. I don't know what sheet it is in your packets, but it's sheet 7 on mine. Excuse me, sheet 8 on mine that breaks out total construction cost of basically 480, less the water main at 31, less the DOT grant at 149, less 12% of the engineering related to
Ours is
water
page
main
9.
at 7. That's where the total accessible cost comes from, 291.
And then on page 12, it shows the assessment
Yeah,
cost.
page 12 is the one that breaks out the 3 pieces that are not part of the assessment. Per the developer's agreement. Any other questions?
Hypothetically, if we Boulders in, would retain lot 2, we would just in essence continue paying
Yes.
on it.
Yes.
So nothing would really have to be.
Boulders is paying the assessment on all of these
Regardless.
until
Until they're sold.
they're
But
sold.
If in fact we would retain it and it's not for sale, it doesn't impact anything.
No.
Any more questions?
Does it generally make sense as far as what's going on?
Once again, the east side of the property is ag land first. They don't have to pay that assessment. It's always on the books, but they don't pay it until they change the zone. If they ever change the zone.
And now it's 75,000.
That was
Up to
25%.
Yeah, it was up to that.
That's at
Yeah.
72,
72,
892.
yeah.
And that can be hanging out there for quite some time.
Oh, it could hang out there forever if they don't let
It
it go.
it could. You know, the way we would finance that still is, we would issue, it's right around $300,000 worth of debt that finances Boulder's special assessment while they're paying it back, the water portion, and then also finances Peterson's while it's hanging out there. So that's proposed to be over 10 years.
Yeah, the city has to pay all these costs up front. Because they're not paying it back. They're paying it back over 10 years. Like you said before, contractors like to cash checks.
And growl when they have to fix it.
So that being said, I think there's some resolutions compared to Bob Johnston.
Nothing on the financing. We wouldn't do the financing until after we let the bid for the project, which would be sometime after January. Talked with the bank just briefly about that. They're certainly on board.
Would that be half of one bank and half of another?
We can do it however you like.
If they have that kind of, would you know what kind of interest rate before you go into this, if they wouldn't work?
We're ballparking at around 3.5, and I haven't asked them for sure, but the past couple of issuances that we have done where they've kind of wanted market has been right around 3.5%. So, we issued debt at 3.5%. The special assessment to Boulders then is at 4.5%. We agreed to pay 1% more to cover the issuance costs, legal costs.
So we're gonna have to do these two resolutions, and we're gonna have to set a hearing.
Yep, then it's at the hearing. So that first resolution,
And those were prepared by Bob Jostin, your bonding attorney.
yep, it's, so, he was walking us through this process, laid out very nicely, but it's on page 14 is this first resolution. This basically just defines the project, and it is the first step in the special assessment, so. Ordering our project engineer to prepare the plan and specs, and then it'll require the plat and schedule, and that's already been done.
Could we have a motion on resolution 1117?
I will make that motion. Approve resolution number 1117.
Second? Roll call.
Laney,
Yes.
Stankham, Trader,
Yeah.
Vogel North, West.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 1118. Adopting the plan.
So we're adopting that, the preliminary plans and specs, the estimate of cost, and then also that plat and schedule, that preliminary plat. So this would say that you agree with the council's valuation of the land, and then also establishes that preliminary amount of the assessment, which would be the maximum amount of the assessment.
Okay, I'll again move to approve resolution number 1118.
Second? Roll call.
Laney,
Yes.
Huss,
Yes.
Stankham, Trader,
Yes.
Vogel North.
So do we have a date for the public hearing?
Yep, it'd be November 7th.
That's
30 days.
highlighted.
Yeah, that, on page 17. It's kind of, in some ways, it's a little strange here, because this next thing that we're going to do is not vote on a resolution, but it's acknowledging the preliminary resolution of necessity and establishing the 7th of November as the date for the public hearing on the resolution of necessity.
We'll just do a simple motion.
Yep, need a motion on that.
I've been doing so good at them, I'll just make it.
Very good.
Second?
I'll second.
Roll call.
Laney.
Yes.
Huss. Thank you. Schrader.
Yes.
Vogel North.
Each day?
You bet. Anything else for me, Scott?
That's it for now.
All right. See you guys possibly next month, probably next month.
Very good news about this panel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Present it in a positive way.
I think if they want to bid on the rest of the road, they'll have to fix that.
I would assume they'll fix it.
I would think that'd be a good idea.